Hello and welcome back to another episode of TechteamGB. Today we're taking a look at the Sonnet Echo Express Pro card reader. Stay tuned. So to start off, we're just going to take a look around the device. We can see it's a rugged little box made mostly of aluminium. On the front you have a single Express 34 card slot, and on the reverse side you have a single Thunderbolt port. Being only one Thunderbolt port, this means you can't go from this device to say a monitor, but instead you can put this device at the end of your Thunderbolt chain. On the top there's a simple but stylish Sonnet logo. Now the feet on a product is something that I find especially important, as there's nothing more annoying than things constantly sliding around on my desk. Thankfully Sonnet have taken this into account and added 4 little rubber pads, which seems to do a fairly decent job at keeping it in one place. As I mentioned earlier, the device is constructed mostly of aluminium, meaning its build quality is top notch, which definitely gives me confidence when I throw this thing into my bag. Being made out of aluminium also means it fits amazingly well with Apple products, but this doesn't mean in any way that it won't work with a PC with a Thunderbolt port. Now when I requested this device from Sonnet, I also asked for 2 different Express 34 cards. These two were the dual USB 3.0 adapter and a single gigabit Ethernet port. The Ethernet card works flawlessly without any problems, and it's literally just plug and play. There are 2 indicator LEDs on the front, which notify you when the device is fully connected. The USB card, however, I did have a few gripes with. Now none of these were Sonnet's fault directly, although they perhaps could have done things to better impact these problems. The first problem that I did have was that the card required extra power for a USB cord that Sonnet expect you to connect to your laptop, which makes little sense if you're buying this to expand USB ports, as you'll lose one in the process. What I decided to do, however, was connect a generic USB wall wart to the device, meaning it will gain 2 actual USB ports. This method obviously isn't ideal if you're travelling, but it worked in the scenario that I tested completely fine. One other gripe that I had was the lack of a locking mechanism for the cards. This isn't really Sonnet's fault, but more of a problem with Express 34 cards altogether. The reason this is annoying is that you can't easily plug a USB device into it, as doing that makes the whole card come out. I found myself either taking the card out and then connecting the devices, or trying to hold the card in place while connecting them. Neither of which are perfect, but they did work most of the time. But it's really annoying when you have a device already connected and then you try and connect another one and then the whole card slides out and then all your devices get disconnected. Now onto the 2 different scenarios that I tested. I tested the device copying a 1.44GB MP4 file from my external hard drive to my desktop. I then connected the drive straight to my MacBook and tested it once more. I found that they pretty much performed exactly the same. I then decided to run Blackmagic Disk Benchmark, and once again they both perform pretty much within margin of error of each other, which is great as it means there's little to no performance impact by going through this solution. Alright guys, so now I'm just going to wrap up my final thoughts on the Sonnet Echo Express Pro. Now when you first take a look at the device, you might think, God, it's incredibly expensive. And it is and it isn't in some ways. There's a couple of things you need to take into account when looking at a device like this. The first of which is that it's Thunderbolt, meaning that everything is just more expensive. The second of which is that it's aimed more towards a professional background, meaning that everything just comes inherently more expensive. And another thing is that there's a lot more expandability than the ones that I just showed you. For example, you can also connect things such as Sony SXS cards, compact flash cards, STXC cards, Firewire 800 cards and eStartup cards. Meaning that there's a lot more expandability options than ones that I showed you. Meaning that this device is much more versatile, which makes the price not seem quite as bad. Now one thing that I really enjoyed about this product was the ability to connect an Ethernet cable to my MacBook. Now if you're an owner of any Mac that doesn't have an Ethernet port on it, you know that it's incredibly frustrating if you ever come into the scenario where you need to connect an Ethernet cable to your MacBook. Now with this product it pretty much eliminated that scenario altogether and worked flawlessly. I had no dropouts, it recognised the network very fast, so it's excellent in that regard. So now I'm just going to wrap up with the scores. For value for money it's going to get a 4 out of 5, which may seem fairly high considering the product is quite expensive. Although like I mentioned earlier, anything with Thunderbolt just seems to be expensive, and I can't really mark it down for that. For performance it's going to get a 5 out of 5, as in all the scenarios that I tested, it performed exactly like it would just connecting the device straight to the MacBook, which is exactly what you would want. For functionality it's going to get a 4 out of 5. The reason it didn't get any higher than this was the fact that you have to connect extra power for a USB cord. Now I did mention this wasn't directly Sonnet's fault, but like I said earlier, they could have done things to better improve this. Maybe even including an extra long USB cable so you can come up with a better solution yourself would have been an option. Now for styling, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. This is one of those topics that's definitely very subjective. Personally I quite like how it looks, but you may not. And as an overall TechteamGB score, it's going to get a 4 out of 5. Alright guys, so thanks for watching this episode of TechteamGB. If you like the video, then hit the like button. If you dislike it, then hit the dislike button. If you did dislike it though, I'm not sure why you decided to watch it the entire way through. So if you did dislike it, then leave us a comment so you can tell us what to improve on next time. As always, hit the subscribe button so you can watch more amazing content like this video. Share it so all your friends can watch it. Favourite it so you can come back to it next time, and we'll see you all next time. Goodbye!